This is Umbrella Security Service Operative Grim Reaper, and you're watching the Biohazard Bros Podcast.
Biohazard Bros Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Biohazard Bros Podcast. I am your host, Kenjira80, along with my friend, my co-host, my bro, Colin255, on this hot, miserable June first day of summer, right? Isn't this the first day of summer?
I think it actually might be. I'm not sure. If it's not,
Yeah,
it's very close. But yeah, you might be right.
it
Yeah.
is. It's
Is
June
that the first day?
21st,
Wow.
first day of summer. Yes, it
Summertime is
is.
here.
Woo, it's
I
hot out
hate
there, too.
summertime.
We got the air blowing. If you guys can hear it in the background, sorry, I'm just miserable. I can't have it off right now. It's
Yeah,
humid and
same.
muggy in my neck of the woods. I'm sure it's even worse down
Yeah,
there where
I'm
you
I'm
are,
down
buddy.
south in the United States, so in the summertime it's like, oh my God. Oh. It's even hot in the
Yeah.
wintertime sometimes where I live. So summertimes it's like blazing every day, sweating. But yeah, so I do have my fan on medium. Usually I have it on low, so so it doesn't interfere with our volume, but I have to have it on medium today. It's hot.
So, how you
Pretty
been,
good, pretty
man?
good.
I mean, we don't get to hang out much with the streams because of you have a lot of things going on in
Yeah, I haven't
life,
been streaming quite as much lately.
working, and you haven't been streaming quite as
Four,
much.
three, 3 hours a day.
Kind of taking a little bit of getting used to, but it is what it is. At least we can still make the podcast, and when you do stream, it's always nice
Hell
to
yeah.
hang out with you. So, what you've been playing? You just finished
Deltarune and
Alone in the
Alone in the
Dark.
Dark. Yeah, those two games.
I just found out for the first time today because I haven't been on my PlayStation in about 2 weeks since the Switch 2 dropped. I had no idea that I had it
Yeah,
available for me with
yeah.
Essential
I thought
on PS Plus to download. So I
I thought you
downloaded
knew. I
it
would have told you. That's how
today.
yeah,
I
that's
didn't know. I
how.
had no idea. I haven't been on PlayStation for
Yeah,
for a
you've been doing
while.
that Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah,
My
the
Switch.
Nintendo Switch 2
Yep,
grind.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's been available, I think, for most of this month to download for free. So obviously I downloaded it, and then when I was done with Deltarune,
Now, is that going to remain? Is that going to remain there next month, or
I actually
they will
forget,
pull
but
it?
if you, as long as you download it or at least you know, purchase it and keep PlayStation Plus, you'll be able to play it next month and the month after. I'm pretty sure. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I'll have to resubscribe. I think my PlayStation Plus membership
yeah,
ends
if it
next
ends,
month.
they might take it away. But I think as long as you have at least downloaded it, they won't take it away. As long as you downloaded it while you had PlayStation Plus. I could be wrong. I don't really remember because I haven't
Yeah, I think you might have to remain
maybe I haven't
subscribed to the service to be able
yeah,
to access the game. They
I
lock
haven't
it, I'm pretty
unsubscribed
sure.
from PlayStation Plus
It's okay.
in
I'll
like
get around to playing
years.
it. I mean, it's only like $25 for 3 months for
So
Essential, so it's not
you're
that big of a
good.
deal.
But yeah, Alone in the Dark it was
Anyway,
a decent game. It was okay. It ain't no Resident Evil, that's for sure. Um, not that
yeah,
one, anyways. But it's worth a playthrough. I would say at least one playthrough. It was pretty decent. It wasn't terrible.
right. Anyway, how about last week?
That
How
was
did you feel
awesome.
about that? Getting to talk to one of our
Yeah, I
childhood
feel bad
heroes.
because we had somebody else on that I don't really know this person, so I feel like I didn't get to talk because when we had Greg Smith who played Barry Burton, when we had him on, it
Yeah.
was just us three, so I felt like I could just
Yes.
gush and talk more openly.
Yeah, but he was ignoring you the whole
No, it was
episode.
only like the first 15 minutes, and he wasn't even ignoring me. I think he could tell I was there. But
No,
yeah,
I
if
know.
you go back and watch it, yeah, like the first 15 or 20 minutes, he could barely hear me, and he didn't know I was talking to him half the time.
Now he even made a joke about it. He was like, "I've been
Yeah,
ignoring you,
yeah.
Colin." Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
funny
but
guy.
that sucked. But besides that, it
Real
was
jokester. I
perfect.
like him.
But with
No,
Charlie,
it was great.
how do you say his last name? I always forget. Charlie
Charlie
Kraslavsky. Okay.
Kraslavsky.
Sorry,
Hmm.
it's just
Yeah,
I don't usually say his
yeah.
last name.
So big shout out to Charlie
Yeah.
Kraslavsky. He's subscribed to the
Oh,
channel. I
really?
forgot. A big shout out to Brandon. Yeah, absolutely did. Yes, big shout out to Brandon Salisbury.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks,
Brandon,
Brandon.
for he
I
set
just
that up pretty
that was
much.
my first time ever.
He was the one
Yeah,
that
that was
kind
my
of set
first
that
time
up.
ever talking to him. So it was like, I think we
He's a really
connected pretty
good
well.
dude.
It's just that I didn't want to be gushing about
Yeah,
Charlie with Brandon there because I didn't want to be disrespectful in
yeah,
that
I
way.
get
Like
you.
I wanted to treat them equally, obviously. So
No, I mean, he wouldn't have
yeah,
took
I'm
it like
sure
that.
he
He
like seemed like a
listen,
really.
he gushes
Oh,
over
does
him
he?
too. He said himself, "I had the Chris Redfield living at my
Oh,
house,"
that's
for a little
crazy.
while there. He gushes over too. He's just a
Yeah, of
normal guy
course, of
like
course.
us, and he can't believe that he can't believe that he's
Wait,
involved in all this stuff too. He's like,
he
it's
had
a real
Charlie's.
it is. It's a blessing, like to be able to like. What's that?
It is a blessing. I was just saying he had Charlie living at his house for a little while. You said.
Well, he was staying with them while they were filming something. I
Uh,
think maybe it was I think it was while they were filming
so what
Whistle
for
to the
just like a few
Maples.
days or
So
something?
he had,
That's
yeah, a
cool,
few
dude.
days or
I bet
weeks or
not a lot of
whatever.
people
So
say
yeah,
that. Not a lot of RE fans can say they had Charlie.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's
He's
pretty
like still
cool.
like I can't believe all these things are happening. I feel the same way. So which leads me to thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Bran, and to every guest who we've had on for giving us your time. We appreciate
Absolutely
you guys. This community of Resident Evil has been
amazing.
amazing and they've been very open to a little old
Yeah,
podcast like ours, and we cherish every minute that we
yeah.
get to talk to you and hang out and
We
to
very
call you
much
guys
appreciate
friends.
it. You guys have been great. Everybody's been
Absolutely,
fantastic.
and moreover, I'd like to give a thanks to the fans of the
Yep,
show.
of course.
Those of you who listen on Spotify and those of you who listen on YouTube, we really appreciate it. But doggone it, don't be shy.
Yeah,
Leave a comment. Let us know you're there, man. We'd
yeah.
love to hear from you. We
We
will
need to
absolutely
hear from
interact.
you.
But thank you for listening. Yeah, we
We
got to
have
hear
to.
from you. It helps. It really does help with the
Yeah,
algorithm, and we really appreciate it.
and it
We
makes us
really
happy
appreciate it.
knowing that.
Listen, we're not getting
Yeah,
paid for
no.
this, so we're just having fun. When we want to know that you're
Yeah,
having
we
fun
love
too.
doing this shit because
Um,
Resident Evil is the best thing ever.
absolutely,
Our favorite video game franchise. So, and we just love talking Resident Evil
absolutely,
and video games in general. But Resident Evil's at the top.
absolutely. So we have a very big episode again today for you. Today we are going to be jumping into Resident Evil
Boom.
Revelations. This game came out, I believe, in 2013 for the Nintendo
I think it was actually
3DS,
late 2012. It was same. Yeah,
or
I
is it
all
2012?
three
Okay,
Resident Evil
it was
games.
yeah,
RE6.
2012ish. I didn't
Same
play it
with
till
me. Yeah, same
2013.
with me.
Let's
Yeah,
be clear on
when it
that.
came out
Yeah,
on PS3, but it came out in 2012 on the 3DS, and it's crazy because think about this:
yes,
three big Resident Evil games came out in one single year: RE6, RE Operation Raccoon City, and then later in the year Resident Evil Revelations. Like, how crazy is that? That three.
yes. They kind of made a big deal about Operation Raccoon City
Yeah,
too. Like big, there was
actually,
like a big
Revelations was
push
probably
for it.
the lower budget of the three. Since it was a handheld. Which ironically, I think Revelations is the best of those three games. So it's kind of funny that it's kind of yeah,
Absolutely, that's one
yeah.
of my
It's kind of funny
favorites.
because Six and Operation Raccoon City had a bigger budget. I assume a much bigger budget, but Revelations ended up stealing my heart more than Six and Operation Raccoon City did. So it's kind of ironic.
Yes, because this game attempted to take Resident Evil back in the direction of
Yeah,
survival horror,
somewhat,
and it did very
somewhat.
effectively. It did very
Yeah, I feel like
effectively,
it
in my
blended
opinion.
like the action of like RE4 with the old school like survival horror of RE1, 2, and 3. I feel like it blended it
Yep.
kind of pretty well. Like not perfectly, but pretty well.
I feel like this game kind of had a good template of what a Resident Evil 1 remake could be like in the third person, because the Queen Zenobia had a very
Yeah, it
mansiony
did.
feel to it, because
And
it's this big luxury liner, and it's got a lot of creepy hallways and
yeah,
rooms,
yeah,
and
the whole any
it's really
section in this
good.
game that's on the boat with Jill are the best sections in my opinion. Like I like the sections where
Absolutely.
you go off and you play as Chris for in the snowy section, or you play as Jackass and Grinder in this other snowy section. Those are fine too, but the ones on the boat where you have to like unlock rooms with and it even brings back like the keys, like it has the anchor key I think is one of them, and the life something
Yes.
key, and fuck I can't remember the names of all the keys. There's like three or four different.
but it
Theme
has
keys,
themed
exactly,
keys,
which is what I'm
which is
getting at.
which is very in
RE1 and
line
2.
with what Resident Evil is, what we love about
Yeah.
Resident Evil. All right, so like we're gonna try to slowly pick through the story. This is a very complex one, guys. The Revelations is all over the place. You're playing essentially one, two, three different campaigns
Maybe even kind of more than that,
throughout
actually.
the
Well, no, you're right. I think it's 3.
yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, they mix and
You
match
have
sometimes later in the game, so it's almost like more than 3,
yes, you have
which is
Jill
the
and
meat and
Parker. Then
potatoes
you
of the
have
game.
Chris and
Yep.
Jessica
Chris Jessica.
and
Yep.
Jackass and Grinder, and it takes place. So there's time jumps for the most part because this game. We're going to kind of kick it off with like the chronological order. This game essentially it's a callback to Raccoon City. You have this floating island called Terra Grigia, which is the target of a terrorist attack by this group called El
Veltro.
Veltro, who, excuse me, who are the leader is of this group. El Veltro basically are an eco-terrorist group led by
And they're a bunch
Jack
of
Norman,
assholes.
who is yes, and they're in league with the Silver Fox Morgan Lansdale, who we'll get into in depth a little bit
Fucking
later on.
Lansdale.
So he provides them with the means to attack this city with a bioterrorist attack in exchange for the T Abyss virus, and it leads to this whole big convoluted story of like betrayal and backstabbing, which is what we know and love about Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So
Other things.
this game is it's very high on my list as far as at least top
Yeah.
10
It used to be high on my
favorites.
list. Now it might barely crack the top 10. But, it was a handheld. And, but when it first came out,
Hmm.
I had like new game. I don't know what you want to call it, but like it was a new Resident Evil game, so I think I overhyped it a little more. And I even at one point said it was in my top
Yeah,
five, which nowadays absolutely not in my top five. But I think it might crack the top 10 for favorite Resident Evil games, maybe just barely. There's just so many good ones now with all the remakes and RE7 and 8 out here. Like there's just so
absolutely.
many good ones that it's hard to, and even if I don't put it in my top 10, that doesn't mean I don't love it. I love this game.
Oh, I know you do.
I just
You
played it
play
like
it
a few months
enough.
ago.
Um, yep. I feel like you played it a little bit sooner than that.
No,
I feel like you
that
played it
was
like maybe a
Revelations
little
2. I
more than a month
played
ago.
yeah, Revelations 1
Okay.
was quite a few months ago.
All right.
Yeah,
Either way. So this game really like hit notes for me because it was a good change of pace in the right direction, in my opinion, from Resident Evil 6. Now, at the time when I played it, I had my PlayStation 3 had just got
that's a
stolen,
bummer.
as you know. Uh, and yeah, it was a real bummer. So my next console that I bought to tide myself over was a
Oh,
3DS. And I bought that 3DS system specifically to play two
Revelations.
games. And that was Revelations
And
was one of them, and A Link Between
ah,
Worlds was the other. And I don't talk about Zelda enough, but I do have a very fond spot for Zelda. But this isn't a Zelda podcast. This is Resident
yeah.
Evil. I did buy it for Resident Evil, and it served its purpose when I needed it to, and I really grew attached to that game. And I played it a couple times. I think I played. That was one of the first times I played a Resident Evil game more than once
How
back to
was it
back,
on?
trying to get everything on the 3DS was
Yeah, because I've
pretty
never played
fucking
it on the
good.
3DS.
I mean, the circle pad
Mm,
for the thumb, it was a little bit more tight, but it worked for the system. And the 3D aspect of the game was more so immersive. It
mm.
was so good, especially like there's a sequence I believe in this game at the end where you have to like you're on like a it's like an on rail shooter almost like you're like shooting like a big kraken or
Yeah,
something.
I know
Am
what you're
I?
talking about.
You
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? And the 3D in that was so fucking good, man. And the environment of the Queen Zenobia,
yeah,
the
it's
Queen
great.
Dido, uh,
Like the
it
setting
was
of the
just
game is
really
so good.
good.
I don't know. I'm a sucker
The
for being
setting of the
on.
game, I
Yeah,
love
I
it
was just
being
about to
on a
say
boat.
I'm a sucker
I
being
love it.
stranded on a boat in the middle of nowhere at nighttime. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that's such a cool setting
And
for a survival horror game.
now I would have liked to have seen a little bit more traditional zombie like or not maybe not so much them, but like this was the era of the of the Ganado and the Magini and all those. So I would have liked to seen some of those enemies in there, but the ones that they gave us that was created by the T-Abyss, those slimy
white,
looking, they kind of
grayish.
almost the white things. They kind of reminded me of the
Yeah,
regenerators.
that and they kind of reminded me of Molded, honestly, from RE7, except just not black. They're like more because there's different versions of them. They come in different shapes and sizes, but they're all made of the same material. That's just like the Molded. They come in different shapes and sizes and different types forms, but they're all black molded. You know what I mean? So in that way, they're very similar
Yeah,
to the Molded.
which
But
makes
there's
a
other
lot of
enemies
sense
too.
of how like there's it makes a lot of sense about how knowing now that all right, this game was directed by Takanashi, who is the director of Resident Evil
Coincidentally.
7 and the upcoming Resident
Oh
Evil
my God, I
9
can't.
Requiem,
Yeah, I
which I'm
can't
very
fucking
fucking
wait. Oh
excited for. Oh
shit!
my
Even
god.
for a demo,
Yeah.
I can't wait. Which
But
I actually
yeah,
heard
dude.
might be coming
So, but
sooner
he's proven his
rather
chops.
than later. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just with the RE7 alone, in
He's
my
proven his
opinion.
chops
Yeah, just
alone. And I learned that he was also the director of Revelations. I'm like, well, that's why it was so
yeah,
good.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like this game, like after RE6 and Operation Raccoon City, I feel like the series was definitely going downhill, and I was starting to like it less. Revelations, I
Yeah.
don't think brought it back fully, but it was a step in the right direction, in my opinion, for sure. Especially for a
It was
handheld
absolutely a
game.
step in the right
And
direction.
then Revelations 2 was
Yes.
also,
And that's what people got to remember. This was a
yeah,
fucking
originally,
handheld game,
anyways.
you
Most
know?
people nowadays have probably played it on a console of some kind. Like I played it on PS3 and PS4,
Yes.
but it was originally a
Yeah.
handheld exclusive for like a year or something. Um, which just makes it even crazier because it looks so damn good for a handheld game, especially for that time period. Like you look at that game and knowing that it was a 2012 handheld game, it's just like holy shit, that had to be one of the best looking games on the system. But I don't really know. I didn't have a 3DS, so I can't.
Yeah, the
I'm sure.
3DS was
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
had
I
a
enjoyed it the time
I had
actually
an
I had
original
two of them.
DS, but after the original DS, I never owned any
Yeah.
Nintendo stuff until the Super Nintendo Mini. Um,
Yeah, I think I've had every Nintendo product
I
that
would
they've
have
ever
loved
pumped
to,
out
but
at
money's
one
an
point or
issue. So
another.
I just stick with one console per
Yeah.
generation, and it's usually PlayStation. Actually, what am I saying? It's always PlayStation.
Um
It's always
yeah, it's
PlayStation.
yeah, I was
Pretty
gonna say
much
it's always
nowadays it is.
um so all right, so this game is it's technically what would they call that? Not off brand, but like
Spinoff?
a
I don't think it's
spin-off.
they
Yes,
count it as a spinoff though. I think
no, well,
it's
no, they count. It's
yeah, yeah.
canonically.
Like
It canonically it falls in line with
yeah,
this with
like
the main titles, with the
just
main
like with
numbered titles.
Code Veronica,
But it is a spin-off
it's part of the
title. It
main
is.
series though. Like
It's part of the main series,
right,
but it
right,
is a
yeah, yeah,
spin-off title very much. Um, so getting into the game, you start off in I think the Mediterranean on a stormy
I think
night,
that's what it says. Yeah,
and I believe it's the BSAA has gotten a tip that Chris and who's his partner
yeah,
Jessica
yeah, yeah, yeah.
have gone missing, and they're
So
on this
Jill and
ship. And as always, Jill or Chris are
yeah,
always looking for
seriously, it's
one
like
another.
that's the
And
plot for
again,
every game after the first one. It's like Jill and Chris are looking
right,
for.
they're always
It's
searching for one,
hilarious.
or Claire's always
Just
searching
like
for
how,
her brother.
yeah, exactly. Just like how, Leon and Ada are always in RE games together. It's like Chris and Jill are always looking for
Yeah,
each other. And it was cool that, I know this is jumping ahead a little bit, but it was cool that we actually got to play as both of them. But also, it was cool that they tag team together near the end of the game. You remember when Parker's like, how about we
yeah,
do a nice little partner swapping? And then Parker and Jessica go off, and you actually get to be Jill and Chris together. And I like
yes,
that they kept
briefly,
Jill as the
yes.
main character that you actually control because she is the main character of this game, not Chris.
And she looked the
I
best
do
in
like
this
her
game,
look a
in my
lot in this
opinion,
game.
in that
Like
nice
I like
little
it way
diver
more than
suit
Ari.
or
Yeah, I
whatever
like
she
it
was
way
wearing.
more than RE5's Jill.
Yeah,
Revelations
she
Jill is one of my favorites.
well, she's the same
Oh, is it
actress,
really?
the same actress likeness as
Oh
you. Yeah,
wow,
it's
I didn't know
Julia
that.
Voth.
It makes sense.
Is in that's from She's also the face and the model for the remake, Revelations, and Resident Evil 5. Just
Wait,
like
RE3
Roger Craig
remake?
Smith was basically the voice.
You're saying
And no, an
I was about to say,
RE1
yeah.
remake.
So RE1 remake Revelations. Okay.
Revelations. No, yeah. If I said RE3 remake,
I
I
don't.
misspoke. Revelations, RE1 remake, and Resident Evil 5. Just like Roger Craig Smith was, his voice was used for 5 and 6, and for Revelations, I do believe.
I think so.
Her likeness was used for this game, among the other two that I previously mentioned. She definitely looked her best in this game. This is my favorite version of Jill outside of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 5. I do like this Jill a lot. She's kind of a
Yeah,
badass, you know. Well,
of
she's
course.
always a badass, but doesn't she do like a round? Can't she do like a roundhouse kick
Oh
herself?
man.
Or isn't
I
there?
think
You know what I mean?
they
Like
all the
I feel
characters can
like
do like some kind of punch or kick. I
or
can't remember.
or
I
a
think she
punch or
might be
something.
able
Yeah,
to do
like a
both, but
finisher.
I can't remember what it is with her.
Yeah,
It might not be a kick. I'm not sure, or it might. Maybe it is. I can't remember to be honest,
yeah.
because there's so many characters
But
you can play as.
and she's badass with the knife. Like she dips and dodges with the knife. So they kind of started it there with this
Yeah,
game
there
too.
is a dodge mechanic in this
Her
game, but
knife
I
work
always
is
thought the
good.
dodge mechanic.
That's what it is.
But it's
She's
kind
got
of
a
jank.
dodge.
I
She's
never
got
could
this
get it to
wicked
work
ass
like
dodge.
consistently.
I've never had a
It
problem with the
works.
dodge mechanic. It's just
Yeah,
all about timing.
but
Yeah,
I guess I suck at it. Is what I'm trying to say. So I can't do it consistently.
yeah.
But yeah, I can get it to work sometimes. It's just
So you start off in this boat, and this boat is
big ship,
massive,
not
and
just a yeah.
it's a big ass ship. One of them. All right, so I can't go through the
The
ship
Queen
step by step because I don't remember all.
Queen
It's
Zenobia,
Queen
yeah.
Zenobia. One of the most memorable parts of this whole. There's a section where you come out of like the cabin area, and there's like a foggy fucking dining area looking thing, and it's like got fog on the ground, and the creature monsters are coming up, out of like the woodwork, and it's like I think it's right before you get to like the ballroom, and it's really fucking
Wait,
creepy looking,
Mist on the
man.
ground?
You'll have to. I believe I feel like there's like a mist on the ground or something. I could be wrong on that. I kind of remember it being like a really eerie looking area is what I'm
Hmm.
trying to say. Um, Maybe I might be
I'm trying to
wrong or
think,
mistaken. I could be confusing.
but
Or
there are some.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
there's an area where you have to fight your way through, and it's really spooky. And there's the point. And then you get to the ballroom area, and it like opens up, and then you can go to different sections. It's kind of like a hub section. The next area that is pretty memorable to me is I think it's like it's not like a shopping area. It's like a dining area. There's like shops, or I feel like it would be like a commerce area, and you got to fight this fucking
yeah.
Mayday
The
creature
what is
that
he?
is so fucking
I think yeah.
creepy,
I made
man.
a list a long time ago of top five creepiest enemies in Resident Evil. This was before Resident Evil 7 though, so none of the games past Resident Evil 7 were taken into consideration. And I remember putting them at number five on my list. The comms officer, the Mayday guy. I don't remember what else they called him.
Yeah, the
They
comms
call him the comms
officer.
officer, and there's another name for him too, but I forget.
Do you remember reading his fucking
Yeah,
file,
I've read
dude?
his file.
That fucked
Yeah,
with my
it
head
was
like the
creepy,
Keeper's
man.
Diary
It feel,
did,
you
dude.
makes
It
you
was
feel so
screwed
bad
up.
for him.
This dude's
And then
locked himself away, and he can hear the
you can hear
monsters
him,
outside, and he's
and
slowly
you can hear him
starving to
being like,
death.
"Mayday, Mayday," and then I think at one point he even says something like, "Help me or kill me," or something. He says something along those lines where you can tell he's like, it's almost like he's still trapped in his own body, in his own deformed body, asking for somebody to please just finish him off so he can fucking
Yeah,
not feel this agony anymore. Yeah,
end his
pretty
misery.
much. But
Uh,
he's
I,
scary because if he gets a hold of you, it's just instant death.
he fucks you. I was about to say that he
Yeah,
fucks you up. This dude can be tough,
he's a
even
bullet
on like
sponge.
like a
Yeah,
standard
he's
difficulty. He's
bullet
he's
sponge.
he's
He can
tough.
be fast
And
when he
then you
wants to
not
be.
only that, you got to deal with all these
Yeah,
fucking
usually
monsters
they
coming
come.
around.
Yep, usually they come with a bunch of other monsters.
That's where you're like. I think this is where you one of the first times you run into the hammerhead type monster that can shoot
Yeah,
shit at you. You got to
yep.
dodge all that, and it's just, oh my god, man, that was an intense,
And then
one of the
when
best
I what I
fights,
have and
like
what
in the
gets me
series.
is we didn't mention this yet, but you get a new mechanic in this game where game mechanic where you like have to scan stuff. You can scan for handprints, try to collect all 25 or however many there are,
Yes.
30. But you can also scan different rooms for items. This is actually how you get a lot of the ammo in the game is by scanning for it. But another thing you can do is scan enemies and for percentage, and when you reach 100% with scanning, it gives you a free green herb. So every playthrough I do of this game, I always have to scan everybody, and scanning the comms officer while he's running after you, and it takes forever to scan them, is always like oh shit, am I gonna get him in time? Am I gonna scan him in time
Yeah.
before he gets me? But with how I play, I always have to scan everybody. So
Well, I'm not the trophy hunter that you are, but do you got to scan everything in completion to get a
I think
trophy
you
for
do
this
actually. I
for
think
the
you have to scan
platinum?
every enemy, and you have to get all handprints. There's quite a bit of scanning you got to do for a couple trophies, I believe, from what I remember.
Okay.
But I feel like that mechanic it's kind of cool. It's kind of annoying the further you get in the game because it's like okay, I get it, but like you pretty much if you want to have lots of ammo and you're a completionist, you're going to be doing a lot of scanning in every room. But it's not a bad mechanic though. I feel like it worked out pretty well, especially for its time. And yeah,
Yeah, it was. It took some getting used to
yeah,
for me because I remember the first time you get used to you get introduced to this machine that
hmm
you use to scan.
yep.
You're on a beach and you got
Flashback.
these like slime slug looking
Yeah.
fucking things. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so we got to do this, but like I didn't really put a lot of stock into scanning
I
everything in
always do.
completion. The first go around because there's no trophy system for the
Yeah.
Nintendo 3DS, so I didn't really try to get everything till the second playthrough when I played it on the 3DS.
Oh, dude.
But I put a little bit of effort into trying to because it is not only how you uh for a trophy system for modern consoles, it's also you get like points and stuff for it, right? Or
You get a
you get like
percentage
a
thing, like
you
where
get a
like
percentage
this
thing.
monster, you
Yeah,
scan him for the first time ever, he might give you like 26%. So it adds the 26 to your score,
yeah.
and then once that percentage reaches 100, it gives you a free green herb. But
That's what I
yeah.
knew there was a
Yeah,
reward
but
system.
it
I
takes
knew
your
there was a
percentage back
reward
down to
system of some
zero
sort.
if you get that green herb. And if you already
Yeah.
have
So there was an
yeah,
incentive to
definitely.
scan things as well.
But
I
if you already
remember that.
have, you can only hold 5 green herbs. So if you scan to 100%, and you already have 5 green herbs, it won't give you a sixth one. So it'll just stay at 100% until you use a green herb and get free up some space. Then when you go back into the scan menu thing, it'll give you the green herb and bring your percentage down to zero, and then you fill it up all over again for another free green herb. And bosses
Yeah.
and big enemies like the comms officer and other bosses usually scan and give you a hefty big percentage, like anywhere from like 25 to 75.
This also had a system of upgrades for
Yeah,
the
I thought
weapons that you could
that's
customize parts
yeah, that's
and
another
max
reason
out.
to scan. You can find those by scanning. So
Yeah,
so scanning is
yeah,
a big
yeah. That's
deal.
that. I knew that there was some kind of like
Yeah.
incentive for this. I knew it had something to do with like
Like
upgrading
sometimes you
weapons.
find them like weapon cases or what are they called? They're like weapon weapon
It's like
parts
weapon
and then or
parts.
illegal parts and then super illegal parts, the
Yeah,
gold ones. I don't remember what exactly they're called, but the
yeah.
gold ones can sometimes be found without scanning, like if you open up like a safe or something. But most weapon parts
So
you can find by scanning.
I remember like like putting a lot of effort into like beefing up the
Yeah,
sniper rifle because it
I know
is an OP
you
gun
love
once
the
you have it
sniper
maxed
rifle.
out. I think it was Mac. Well, that's what I had to use to defeat Jack Norman because that's a really hard boss fight.
I'm
Probably the
not.
hardest boss fight in the whole
It might
fucking
be
series.
on Inferno difficulty. On
It's
Inferno
really
difficulty, I
hard.
would say absolutely. On normal difficulty, I wouldn't say he's the
Yeah,
hardest, but he's up there. On Infernal
it's
difficulty,
pretty hard.
he
But
is.
if you have a maxed out sniper rifle, and I think I remember the numbers, I wanted to say it was something like I had it upgraded to like I don't know if it was 1,000 like 1250 or if it was 12,500.
Probably higher than that.
It was yeah, it was high. It was high. I had it maxed out to the
Damage
fucking
plus
max.
80% or some
And
shit.
you got to be a crack shot, but I crack shot killed Jack Norman I think in five
Yeah,
shots. But
that.
you got to
Excuse me.
whenever he opens himself up to that vulnerability for the shot and you got to pull off that shot. I can't remember if it's a
Got the
headshot or
heart.
where it is or
The
maybe
heart
something
opens
on his
up,
chest.
and it
The
doesn't stay
heart,
open
that's
for
what it is.
very
Yeah, it
long
was a
too.
chest.
He
I was
also
going to
has
say
a
the
thing on his
chest.
back.
Yeah, you got to crack shot that shot. 5 fucking times with a maxed out, or 5 or 6 times with a maxed out sniper rifle, and I dropped his ass. I think I beat that boss fight in about maybe 2.5 minutes
That's
flat
very
with the
possible,
fucking
but I'm
maxed out.
telling you, you never done it on Infernal,
Yes,
different.
I've never been able to do
And
it since.
you never played it on
He's hard.
Infernal, did you? Oh my God.
Never have, dude. I ain't
Don't
that
do
got
it.
that
If
balls like
unless you
that. Come on
really
now.
want the platinum, don't do it because I promise you,
I
it
don't
took
have no
me
hair
like
to pull
30
out,
plus tries to beat him on Infernal difficulty, and I feel like I'm pretty decent at the game, and it took me like 20 to 30
Yeah,
tries to beat him. Like, that's a lot of attempts. That's like an hour of playing
yeah.
right there in a row just to beat one boss. He's so
Holy shit,
fucking
it
hard
is,
on
dude.
Infernal difficulty. If you're playing it on Infernal, I would say he's probably the hardest boss in Resident Evil history. Definitely top three. Definitely top three.
Probably. No,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely, hands down.
he's
I
hard.
could imagine
I've seen people
because
say they
I
could.
tried to. Okay, I've tried to play Infernal once, like
It's
the
hard.
opening of
It's
it.
hard.
Fuck that
They
noise.
all have
I
so much
did
more
it for
health
like
and shit, and that's
20 minutes. That's it.
they're bullet sponges on hard, and they're obviously hit you for way more damage too. And
Yeah.
there's I believe there's more enemies too on Infernal. Like in spots that don't normally wouldn't have any enemies, there's going to be some. So it's best to do like an easy or a normal playthrough first, so you can beef up your guns and get ammo, and then do a new game plus Infernal, so you're not starting from scratch on Infernal. And even then, it's still going to be hard, really hard. But
Yeah.
yeah, but
So, like I was saying, there's a lot to this game as far as the story goes. Like it's very
yeah, the story was
confusing.
like never something that
Uh,
super interested me. Like I follow it, but I always just like the
yeah.
gameplay of it. But
Yeah. Okay, so I want to touch, so this segues into, I want to touch on one of my favorite villains outside of Wesker in all of the fucking
that's
Resident Evil series that they didn't do nothing
yeah.
with was the Silver Fox, Morgan Lansdale. He is hands down probably my second or third
Wow,
favorite villain. I'd say if he's top three, I would have to say it's Wesker Nemesis and then
that's
Morgan
crazy.
Lansdale. And
I like it. I like it.
yeah, he's a good fucking villain, man. And they didn't do nothing with him beyond
Yeah.
Revelations 1. Like uh, they didn't really touch on what happened with him after it was revealed that he was the mastermind behind the Terra Grigia panic, and that he was in league with El
Well,
Veltro. Like they just he kind of
yeah,
fucked off after this game,
you
and
know
we
how
didn't see no
Capcom
more of
is.
him. You know?
They like the king of
Yeah,
making character of like making one hit wonder characters where they only
one hit
appear in one
wonders.
game and
Yes.
then they just never do anything with them ever again. So
I mean, and him and Clive O'Brien were at odds like all game. Like this dude was a dick and he was like a great villain. And it's like he's trying to like basically pin this shit on fucking Clive O'Brien and set him up and absorb the BSAA. You know what I'm saying? And like all right. So Morgan Lansdale is the director of the SBC.
yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, the
I
SB is that
think
what
it
the is
is.
it SBC? Shit, I'm trying to think, or is it the SB's? Oh God.
Hey Siri, what was the organization that Morgan Lansdale was with in Revelations?
Here's an answer from
The
evilresource.com.
the FBC.
FBC. It's not.
FBC. So he
It's
was
not
with the not the SBC. It's FBC. I don't know what that stands for.
Federal Pure Bit Bio
Whatever
Country.
it stands for. So he's with the FBC, and they're trying to absorb the. They look at the BSAA as a threat, or he does. He looks at the BSAA as a threat. So he's trying to absorb them and then pin this shit on the BSAA and set up Clive O'Brien. From what I understand of the story, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I got out of that story. And eventually, it's exposed because our
Of
heroes come
course.
out on top. They figure out like what's really
Yeah.
going on, and then, like I said, after that, Morgan Lansdale kind of fucks off, and we never hear
And
about the
it's not
FBC
just
again.
Chris and Jill
Um,
that take him out. It's like Quint and Keith, who are Jackass and Grinder.
yes.
They
Well, he sends them on
but
a
they
dummy
figure
mission
stuff.
too to even try to
Yeah,
cover
they
everything
figure
up.
stuff out though,
Yeah.
and
Well, he sends them on a dummy mission with the hopes that they're going to get killed by invisible hunters, which are introduced in this
who
game,
sends
which
him
is
on that
sick.
mission?
Well, I wouldn't say um, Morgan
Oh, did
Lansdale.
he? Was it him that did?
I
Hmm.
believe so. Like everything, he was orchestrating everything. Everything that was going on, he was having Clive O'Brien do it, or like if they got orders that all ultimately always came from Morgan Lansdale, from what I understand, from what I remember of the game. So these guys are sent to a plane, and investigate a plane crash, um, outside of
Yeah, but
one
I
of the
thought it was
areas
Clive O'Brien that
of
sent them on that
importance.
mission to.
Well, yeah, he sent them, but I think the orders came
You might
from
be right. I could be wrong. I
uh,
don't know.
Morgan Lansdale. I don't remember
I know there's.
exactly. I could be wrong on that, guys. If I am, like I said, we're not the most 100%. We do this shit off the cuff, but he was behind a
Yeah,
lot of the shit,
but
and I
Clive
wouldn't be
O'Brien definitely sent
surprised.
them on a mission to where he because
Yeah, but it was a dummy mission,
yeah.
and I think the ultimate goal was to get them
Well,
killed.
I don't know about that. Maybe you might be right. I just remember that they sent them on a mission to figure out who was really behind it, and then Quint figured out that it was actually Clive behind it, sending him on these missions, but for a good purpose though. And I can't remember what that was, but yeah, sorry.
Anyway, yeah, but I feel like they were sent. It was an. I think I felt like it was an ambush because they get there and then there's these hunters that are loose. They're invisible, and yeah, it was a real good intense section. I had fun with that. I like the invisible hunters, and I feel
They
like
are
that was a
annoying, but
callback to the invisible enemies. I feel like it was a callback to the invisible enemies from Resident
like
Evil One, but
invisible
I
enemy
don't know
mode,
that for
maybe
sure.
maybe they had that in mind. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, because it would like maybe it was try to explain how they could be invisible or something. I don't know, even though that was not like canonical at the time that
Yeah.
they did that. But they try to rehash old
I feel
ideas. So
like I want to say this about Quentin Keith also. Like they're goofy as hell in this game, but I actually kind of like them because I like the
yeah,
how whenever you're gonna play as them, the tension's gonna be off a little bit because they're gonna be doing their comic relief stuff. Like they're the comic relief characters.
does one or both of them die?
I think they make you think they die at one point, but no, I'm pretty sure they both come out
Okay,
alive. But at one point, it makes it look like they're
okay.
dead, and then that doesn't isn't revealed till later that they're still alive. I'm pretty sure.
And that maybe that's kind of why I feel like it felt like an
Yeah,
ambush. Like
I
maybe
don't
they
think
were sent
anybody
there to
dies
get killed
actually,
off.
except for fucking final boss guy.
Yeah, well, we're led to believe because we're led to believe that Parker gets killed when he falls into the
Yeah, but
Inferno.
then he actually lives.
And I think it was the Queen Dido or
Yeah,
something
there's
that they
also
were
the
on,
Queen Dido
and
and the
like the other
Queen.
ship.
Yeah,
There's like three
Queen.
ships.
I can't. Something
Zamarius,
like that. Queen Zenobia is the main one.
yes.
The Queen Dido is another one, and then there's a third one. I forget the name of it. The Queen fucking who
Yeah.
cares?
Hey Siri, what are the name of the three ships in Resident Evil Revelations?
I found this on the web.
Well, we do have the Queen Zenobia. Oh, this is a Reddit thread. I'm never going to be able to read this. No, that's not what I asked. Anyway, I'm not going to try to fight
I'm
with
trying
Siri.
to
She
think of
doesn't
what
never
it
give me
is.
the
I
accurate
just played this
information
like
I need.
6 months ago.
Yeah, there's three. Anyways, there's three ships. Um,
How about that section where? Sorry, go
you
on.
what's that?
I was just
Go
gonna say
ahead. Go
that
ahead.
the when it first reveals that there's other ships, it's when Jill and Parker are getting drowning in that one room,
Yeah, that's what I
and then
was
you're
trying
trying
to
to
say.
rush there
You're
with
like
Chris and Jessica to
yeah,
save them.
it's a
Yeah,
dummy ship. We're led to
but
believe
it's
that you're
built
on the Queen
exactly, and I
Zenobia,
mean
but you're on the
exactly the same way as the Queen Zenobia. It's built exactly the same. So when you get there, you're like, okay, this is definitely the Queen Zenobia. But when you get to the same room that Parker and Jill were in, you find out that it's not the Queen Zenobia; it's a different ship, and they're actually still on the ship that's like sinking and stuff and flooding. So that's when you first find out there's other ships. Um, and then the Queen Dido is the one that's like already sunken and underwater, right? Near the end of the game, that's like the final third ship that they go.
yeah. That's the third ship. I don't know. I think the Queen Dido
Oh,
is
and
the second one,
I'm pretty sure it's
and
the
then
third, but
I
I'm just gonna say you're
okay. It
right. I'm
might
gonna say
be.
you're right
I don't know.
because I think
I don't know. No,
okay, okay
don't
because
count on
I
me
remember
for
the
accurate
I
information.
remember
I
the
don't always
second
have it.
Queen ship had a longer name, just like Zenobia, and then the third one is the one that had the short
Yeah.
Dido name. I'm pretty sure.
Here, We'll just look it up because I need to know this
Yeah, I'm
information.
always like that too. Where if it's gonna bug the hell out of me.
It
Queens of
will. What are the names?
Queens of Mara, because of Maramis, Zermaris. That might be wrong.
I feel like
Something
that's
like
what it
that.
is.
Semiramis. I was pretty
Semiramis. Yeah,
close.
it's
Yeah.
all right. So it's I
Yeah.
was pretty close. Yeah. So it's and I'm going off of
Yeah.
memory, guys. So it's we have the Queen Zenobia. The second one is the Queen Semiramis. That's the one you go on
Yep.
that's
No,
flooded,
that is
and then
not
they have the
flooded.
one that's sunken.
The Zenobia
That's
is the
not
one that's
flooded.
flooded. The one Jill was on.
Okay, that one gets flooded. All right, and then the final one is the Dido,
Yeah,
which
the
is
sunken one
sunken.
that Jill and Chris explore.
They were all named after
Oh,
ancient
really?
queens.
Like real life
That
queens?
was that was well, maybe queens in the lore or queens in real
I didn't
life.
know that,
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
it's not surprising though.
Yeah. So now that we've established the names of these with looking like a bunch of assholes, um,
Oh, you made me choke.
I particularly like I particularly like the sections with uh well, I like the sections,
Yeah.
all of them, but I particularly like the ones at the end. And this is jumping ahead because then you get to play as Chris and Jessica, which is really
Yeah.
cool too. But I
God.
particularly like the one in Terra Grigia where you have to escape the
Yep.
panic and the hunters are
Oh yeah,
everywhere
yeah,
jumping
yeah.
out uh, and then like you know so this is flash forwarding a little bit before you like realize that like there's this other dude in there. His
Yep.
name's Raymond who appears to be a
And he
villain,
looks
but
like
he's
and he's
not
got
really,
yeah,
right?
he's
He's
kind
like,
of it's kind of like thrown up in the air, but he helps you though. His name is
yeah,
Raymond. He has red hair and
yeah,
he looks like he has a plastic face. I always thought that he looked kind of weird. Um,
yeah.
and then
He
there's
does look
Jessica
weird.
who is like sexualized and like she said, "Oh my God, can we talk about?"
She's a
Well,
dumb
no, she
character,
plays it up.
honestly.
She's actually smart. They reveal
She
kind of.
literally tries to throw herself at
Oh,
Chris
that's what
to
I was
no
gonna
avail.
say. Can we talk about some of the?
Getting
Can we
jealous
talk
over
about some of the
fucking
lines she says?
Jill.
Like the one in
It,
particular I'm thinking of.
yeah, go ahead, dude.
See,
You're
the
fucking
one line she says
ridiculous.
that always makes me crack up is when you remember it's the first time you play as Chris and Jessica. You're playing as Chris specifically, and he falls down and like kind of hurts his leg, so he has to fight off wolves while laying down. And Jessica's trying to reach him. One of
Yeah.
the lines she says when she's getting really close is like, "Me and my sweet ass are on the way," and it's just like, what? Why did they make her? Why did they? Why did they,
So
it is, but it's
cringy.
also hilarious, and I love it. But there are some other lines, but that one in particular always gets me. It's like, "Me and my sweet ass are on the way," and they talk about her thermal like underwear and how she should have been worn warmer clothes, and Chris is like, "Should have worn your thermal underwear," and it's like,
Yeah, didn't she have like a suit where she had
yeah,
like
just
half her
complete
leg was
her
like one of her
leg
legs
and
was missing?
thighs completely bare.
Like
Yeah,
why? For what
seriously.
reason,
That is
Capcom, are
not
we doing this
practical
shit?
in any type of mission like this, but especially in the wintry cold. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, she acts all jealous, basically throwing herself at Chris. Like she asks stupid questions like, "Do you trust me as much as you trust Jill?" And it's like, this is such a random ass weird cringy thing to ask Chris. And then he responds with his normal Chris stuff. I trust you both. I trust you both. Actions are built on words, or I don't remember what he said. Trust is built on actions, not words. I think is what he says, or something like that. A very Chris Redfield thing to say, but I don't know. Nonetheless, regardless, I enjoy their interactions together because it's stupid, but it's just like pretty much any other Resident Evil game. It's a little cringy, a little dumb, but ultimately it's enjoyable and entertaining. And as long as it's entertaining, I'm there for it. But yeah, she does have some pretty funny lines,
Right.
pretty cringy lines. But that one about the underwear and how Chris says she needs thermal underwear, and then the one where she says me and my sweet ass are on the way. Those ones always stuck with me, made me laugh. But yeah, and then there's this weird thing about her and Parker, where because you play as Parker and Jessica in some scenes, also flashback scenes where you're controlling Parker. And they're always they have a thing too where she's always like talking about, you got to take me out to dinner. Now you owe me 2 dinners, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. And yeah, they never had that dinner, but something else did happen later in the game between them.
All right. So I was looking up a little bit of information to try to clarify because I don't want to look like a complete asshole. But yeah, it was Clive O'Brien that sent Grinder and
Yeah, that's what I'm
Jackass to
saying.
that plane crash. But he was responsible for like all the other shit. But like this is like you were saying, this is where they've like kind of
Yeah,
learned some things, and ultimately he's a real scumbag. Is my point. I felt like he was trying to get them killed off is what it felt like to
he
me.
was
But
sending them to get
hell,
them
I
to
haven't
learn the
played in a while.
truth about what's going on.
Well,
Yeah,
Clive
yeah.
O'Brien was, yes,
Because
and then that's when
Clive's a
they
genuinely
discovered
good
that
guy.
that Morgan Lansdale was he had ties with Il Veltro because I think they were like outside of an Il Veltro
Mm,
base or something, that was defunct or something like that. Like I said, I'm going off of memory, guys.
yeah.
We're just trying to recollect this game. It's a good
Oh
one.
yeah. I love this game.
Like I said, there's a lot to this story that really is. It's very convoluted because you have it's episodic in chapters, and then you go from one area to another, and you have time
Yeah.
jumps.
So it's all over the place. The
Like the
story is
Terra
all over the
Grigia
place.
panic, yeah, is one of them because the Terra Grigia panic happens a year before the events of the Queen Dido and all that. So
Yeah, yeah.
this is a very
To
confusing
say the
story.
least.
For those of you who have played it, know what we're talking about.
Um, yeah, but it's fun though. It's fun. I like the system, and like you don't get to upgrade anybody's weapons outside of Jill's, but I feel like it kind of works because everybody else's sections are usually really small, short. So you don't need upgrades. But
Yeah,
Jill on the main timeline gets to upgrade her weapons, and I like the system of getting like the illegal gun parts and the gold ones that are called like rare parts or whatever. And then like every time you get one, it's like,
yeah,
ooh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? And I always, me being a simple plain guy, always hope for just straight up damage. I want the high damage percent, like damage plus 80% or damage plus 60%.
yeah.
Um, because that's just how I am. But there's some other really good ones too. Like,
I like one of my favorite fucking guns in this game to use is Parker's Governor. That motherfucker
I
is
was always a
pretty
big
good.
machine gun slash assault rifle slash shotgun guy. Like those are my weapons that I like using. The Magnum
Yeah,
obviously is great, but you just don't get nearly as much ammo for it usually. It's hard. It's harder to get.
yeah. Well, that's why I like the Governor because it's got like the stopping power of the Magnum almost,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's a
with the
handgun,
right
so it
setup, you
holds
can
more
make the
rounds.
handguns like
And
insanely
then
powerful. You can make any gun insanely powerful with the right
yeah,
parts.
absolutely. And then yeah, I like the
Yeah,
shotguns
I
myself.
know you're more of a sniper rifle guy though,
And
right?
but I like the sniper rifle. Yeah, that
The
motherfucker,
sniper
especially for
rifle,
the
I will
boss
not
fights.
deny it's
Uh,
great, but I don't know. I have a thing about like I just don't like using sniper rifles in that game, and in a lot of games. I feel like it's just because I suck with them. I like using like assault rifles and shotguns more than I do sniper rifles. So when I fought
well, I mostly just swear by that sniper rifle for the
and
fucking
boss,
for the T Abyss
that's it.
Tyrant
Then
fight. Yeah,
that
for
makes
that
sense. Yeah,
boss. Really, I don't really use it through
gotcha.
the whole game. I use it like in the wider open
Yeah,
areas.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Same with
saying?
me.
Like
I
in
do
that
use
big
it, but
ballroom area where you can
yeah,
snipe enemies from
yep,
across the hall. That's when I use it the most. For the most part, I'm using shit like the
yeah.
machine gun, like you
That's
mentioned,
my favorite
and
to use.
shotguns. Shotguns are always fucking
Yeah,
the shepherd,
I
bro.
like using the machine
Yeah,
guns for like
absolutely.
mid range enemies or whatever.
But I feel like with like the governor, especially Parker's governor, it's the strongest handgun in my opinion, maxed out right, and you get. I feel like there's more ammo
Oh, of
available for the
course.
handguns, but I think it has a learned system. I think it has an AI learning system. As with most Resident Evil games, whatever gun you're using the most is what you're going to get ammo drops for it.
It might be
I
something like that. Like
believe
there are some set
that.
drops where no matter
Yeah,
what you do, it's always going to be the same drop. For example, there's like there's
yeah,
in the dining in the dining room where there's all those tables with food on them. There's that one room where you have to unlock it with like the
yeah.
anchor key or whatever it is. And when you go in there, there's always a Magnum pickup in there. So no matter what you do, it's always going to be a Magnum pickup. But then I think there are some drops that are just randomized. Like it'll be whatever. It could be an herb. It could be machine gun ammo. It could be shotgun ammo.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'll see you in a little bit.
I like the guns and how you can play around with all the different stuff you get because it's not just like damage you can get. Like you get damage upgrades, you get like capacity upgrades, you get stuff that increases your stopping power, or stuff that like even stuff like you can equip something with a shotgun to where it makes the spread wider or more compact, or even stuff like if you shoot an enemy within like 3 feet of them or something like that, it makes it stronger. Or there's even like charge shots you can do if you find the right upgrades. You can have like charged magnum shots or charged pistol shots,
Yeah.
and burst shots where you can equip something that does the pistol. The pistol will shoot 3 in a row and for every shot. Like there's all kinds of cool upgrades you can get for your guns, and I love it.
That's very advantageous for whenever you're fighting. I don't know what these creatures are called, these
Yeah, I
white
actually don't
monsters,
remember
because they're
what they're
bullet
called either.
sponges.
Fuck. Who cares? They're called white slime McGoo guys. Who cares? I don't know what they're
McGoo
actually called. I
guys.
forget, but they really do remind me of the molded from RE7. They're like a precursor to the molded enemies because they're, like I was saying, I can't remember if I said this off the stream or off the podcast or on it, but I'll say it again regardless. They're basically they're very similar to the molded in RE7. They're just like, because they're all like white moldy goo monsters, but a lot of them have different forms. Like,
Yeah. There's kind of a theme.
yeah,
running
like
there
there's the
these with the director
yeah,
of these
yeah,
games,
yeah.
like with
It's
the way
just
that he like
they're
has
they're
these
all
monsters.
made of the same gooey material, but there's a bunch of different versions of those enemies. Just like with RE7, a bunch of different molded,
Yeah.
but there's like spider molded, the regular molded, the armored up molded, the fat molded. There's multiple different molded, and I feel like it's kind of similar. So in that way, I guess you can kind of tell it was made by the same guy, the same like head. What did you say he was? The guy that made this and RE7, what was his name?
Takashi
And what was
or
he to like
Takanashi?
the lead designer?
Or not? Hey Siri,
Oh, I'm
I forget
sorry.
already. Who is the director of Resident Evil 7?
Koshi Nakanishi.
Koshi Nakanishi.
And and what was he? Like the lead designer or like the?
He was well, I don't know who the designer was. He probably
But he
had a
was like
hand
a
in
higher
designing
up
some of the
for the
shit.
games.
He was the
Director, okay.
director.
Yeah, and I feel
He
like you
was the
can
director of Resident
and
Evil
7
Revelations
and 9.
and 7
You're saying,
and
and I
and
think
the
you can kind of
forthcoming
tell
9.
in that way because like the enemies are kind of similar, at least in my mind they are.
Yeah. That kind of leads me to wonder what he's going to do as far as
Yeah, it
like
does make me
enemies and
wonder. Like, is it going to be like
bioweapons in
another
Resident
molded
Evil
type
9.
enemy? Like not molded specifically, but
No, well, we're supposed to have more traditional
oh,
like
dude, what
zombies
if they,
back.
dude?
Maybe like
What if they bring
mutated
back Crimson
zombies.
Heads for the first time ever since RE1 remake? People have been wanting the Crimson Heads to come back, and if we're gonna have zombies and we're
Wow,
gonna be going back to Raccoon
yeah.
City, maybe there will be Crimson Heads, or maybe they'll make something new, like some other kind of mutated zombie that's not a Crimson Head but is stronger than a normal zombie. Yeah, who
Who
knows?
knows,
Yeah,
man?
I'm
I'm
so
excited for
excited.
it
Oh
though.
my god, so excited!
Yeah, dude,
Any
it's
new
really
Resident Evil game, man,
they
this gets me
did.
so hyped.
I saw the listing on PlayStation today for it
Oh,
for
really?
the
It's
first
on
time
there?
that it's actually it's probably been up there since
Probably.
it was announced, but I haven't been
Yeah.
on since its announcement. Yeah, so that got me really hyped, man. I had to make a picture because I freeze framed the crater. I'm like, oh, I'm keeping
Cool.
that. Um,
Yeah, that's so excited.
any other points about this game that we
Oh
want to
yeah.
touch on?
Well. Oh shit. Sorry, I dropped my phone. Fuck. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about raid mode some, but I was trying to think of something from the main game first before we move on to raid mode.
Okay.
Is there anything else in the main game really? Uh,
I mean, like I said, the story is very
yeah.
confusing,
And
so I'm
the
not going to
ending,
try to like
like
expound on it as if I'm a fucking
they do the
expert on the
ending to
story.
where it's like, oh man, they're gonna set up something for Revelations 2, but then the ending with Jessica and
Yeah.
Raymond and how they were secretly like working together, kind of, and they kept some of the T-Abyss virus
Yeah.
or whatever. But then they never do anything that with Revelations 2.
So Raymond did turn out to be a scumbag
I think in the end,
didn't
he kind of was like he's kind of like an anti-hero because he did save Parker, but on the other hand, it looked like he was still
Yeah, he
working with
did.
Jessica, and Jessica's clearly a bad guy. So
So he definitely it kind of was letting you believe that he was maybe somebody behind
I
all
feel
that
like
shit,
Raymond
and he
is to
wasn't.
Parker what Ada is to Leon, like except without the sexual stuff, unless they're gay, who knows?
Yeah, without the without the attraction.
Because
Yeah.
he was there for Parker, but at the same time he was working for the enemy. Like so, he's kind of like anti-hero status, kind of like how Ada is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
that's
he
how
had his own
the vibes I
motivations
got from
basically.
him on my dozens and whatever playthroughs of the game. But
Oh, we really didn't talk about the destruction of Terra Grigia on the orders of Morgan Lansdale, which was a callback to the destruction of Raccoon City. Now, how he had the authority to destroy a city like this, I don't know. But even though this was basically like an independent city state, it wasn't really tied to any country. It was kind of its own unit, its own entity. And so, and they used this satellite
yeah,
to rain down fire and destruction on it to
a
destroy
whole
this
territory.
already overrun city that was overrun with
Hunters
fucking
and
hunters,
pretty much just hunters.
which yeah, which was it was kind of an annoying part of the game, but I
Yeah,
did
I
like
liked
it. I
all.
did
Yeah,
enjoy it.
it can be annoying, especially on the
Yeah,
on. I know you said you never played it on
on
Inferno,
higher
but
difficulties,
Inferno makes it
yes.
really.
Yeah. Well, I've played it on I
And
played it
normal's
on
pretty hard
normal,
too.
and then I played it on the next pretty hard. I played on the next hardest level
Oh,
difficulty after
that's
normal,
Infernal.
so
There's
it's
only
still
three
pretty.
difficulties. There's easy, no. There's only
There's only
easy,
three.
normal, and Infernal, or Inferno.
Well, maybe okay. So maybe I played it on easy
Maybe
then normal.
hell.
Is it
The
sounds
only
about like in line with
yeah,
how I do shit,
even normal it
Just
can be
experience
rough
the
on normal
story.
even, especially the final boss. Like
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember that is exactly what I did. My first playthrough on the 3DS was on easy. Then I played it again on
that's a
normal
good
because I
game to
did play
play
it
easy for the
twice.
first time because it's I would say it's
Yeah.
probably one of the tougher
Yeah.
Resident Evil, especially when you
And
get to
then
the end.
my subsequent runs after that on the PlayStation. Well, I haven't played it on PlayStation.
Right.
On Xbox. I played it 2 more times after that on Xbox. I played it on normal. I won't go back to playing on easy because it's a little
Yeah,
bit more fun
yeah.
on challenging
Hey,
on
I would
normal.
recommend the hardest difficulty someday, maybe, but only if you have a save file to where you're like doing it on New Game Plus. Because doing it from scratch, it's
Yeah,
going to be too annoying. It's like I'm sure I have
yeah,
no doubt you
yeah.
could
You do
do
get a
it
new
if you
game
kept at
plus
it.
with this, with all your
Yeah, yeah,
upgrades.
yeah. Do it like on if you're ever going to do Infernal, make sure you do have a New Game Plus save to where you have like all your guns with ammo and the grenades and stuff to where you're just you're stocked because there are going to be enemies at the start where if you did it from scratch, you're not even going to have enough ammo to kill one of them, let alone all like 15 of them that are at the start. Speaking of the grenades,
Right.
we didn't talk about the grenades. There's decoy grenades, there's shock
Yeah.
grenades, there's pulse grenades, there's regular hand grenades, and I think one other kind maybe. Or no, that might be it. No, it's just those four. Now, let's rate the grenades.
I
Hand
don't
grenades are
remember, buddy.
decent. They're strong, but they're just regular hand grenades. They're good. Shock grenades are great for when you're in the water, but other than that, they're not the best. Pulse grenades, I feel like, are kind of the same. Like, you can use them underwater to get those, like, fish enemies away from you. But, well, no, on land, they're good too. They stun enemies. They're really good against the Mayday comms officer guy, because if you throw a pulse grenade, it just automatically stuns them, so you can do a melee attack. But by far the best grenade, in my opinion, is the decoy grenades. You throw a decoy grenade out there, and you're swarmed by like a Mayday guy and like five other enemies. They're all gonna go towards that grenade, and then after like 10 or however many seconds, it explodes. Like decoy grenades are the holy grail of grenades in Revelations 1, in my opinion. The grenade system and just the grenades themselves were just really fire, in my opinion, for this game. Um,
So, uh, just to circle back real quick, the enemies are
Oh,
called
they're
Ooze.
ooze enemies. Is that what they're called? Ooze?
They're
That makes
called
sense. So
Ooze.
so we got
Yeah,
ooze
it
and
looks. I
molded.
just looked it up.
So you can definitely tell it's
Yeah,
made
so
by the
they're
same
called the
guy.
Ooze.
Oh, and something else I was gonna say. Now,
Yeah,
I didn't know this until you told me today that they were made by the same guy that you were talking about. Now it makes so much sense why at the
yeah.
beginning of RE7 you can find that book that was written by Clive in RE7. That's why he put the Resident Evil Revelations Easter egg in RE7 because they were made by the same, same head director or whatever. You do not remember that? There's a book you can find in
I
Resident
kind of
Evil
do.
7. Remember you're at the table with Marguerite and Jack and you get out of the chair. If you go towards the living room
Yeah.
area, you can find a book that was written by Clive from or what's is that his name? Clive.
Oh no, no,
His
no! I
name's
didn't
Clive,
know
right?
that.
Like director.
Uh, the the director of the
Yeah,
BSAA.
isn't it Clive? Clive
Yeah, it's
O'Brien.
Clive
Yeah,
O'Brien.
I was
All
having a
right.
brain fart.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Clive O'Brien
Yeah,
is the
and it
director
was
of the BSAA in this
yeah,
game, and then Morgan
yeah,
Lansdale's the director
yeah. You
of
can
the
find a book that was
FBC.
written by Clive O'Brien. So now that you told
No
me that,
shit.
I always thought it was weird that there was a Revelations Easter egg in RE7. But now that you told me it was directed by the same guy, it totally
See, this makes me want to fucking play Resident Evil
yeah, it
7 and
totally
check it
makes
out.
sense. And coincidentally, there's another page in like the main hallway of RE7, the main hallway room with the stairs that you can find that's written by Alyssa Ashcroft. So what a coincidence that what a
Yeah, I
coincidence.
know about
Yeah.
that one, and that's why I was trying to think. I know
There
about the
was another
Alyssa
one. Yeah.
Ashcroft one. I didn't
There's a
know
Clive
about the.
O'Brien one
Yeah, I
too.
did. That's what I was trying to think. I'm like, oh, I know that there's a callback
Dude,
to
what
another
a
one, but
crazy
what is it?
coincidence now.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm. Yeah, that's
Think about
crazy.
it.
I didn't know that. I
Like
have to go
RE7
look at
has
these.
an Alicia Ashcroft reference, and he's doing RE9 now with Grace Ashcroft, and then it
Yeah,
also has a Clive O'Brien, which is to his other work. That's crazy.
it's crazy because it wasn't even a thought to do
Yeah, of
nine to
course
bring
not. Of
this
course,
to bring the
maybe he did
characters
that.
from Revelations into
Yeah,
the
maybe he
numbered
decided to
titles.
make Grace Ashcroft and tie it in with Alyssa because he put that Easter egg in RE7.
I don't know. You remember what I was saying when we had Charlie on about how Japanese like developers like they're very clever with like the long game, and he was saying that
Yeah,
with their long game, they probably do
they
plan the
could.
shit
Who
ahead,
knows?
like
The only way
way
we never know
ahead.
for sure is if they told
Yeah,
us. But
exactly.
I'd
And
say that's
and
a
and
stretch, though. Unless they
um,
come out and say it, I'd say that's kind of a stretch.
I don't.
Because RE7 happened in
I think
2017.
there's something to that because these guys when they make these games, they do think ahead about
Hey,
how they're
you
going to
never know.
what they're
You
going to
might be
do
right. You might
to a
be right.
degree.
But there's no way to really
Yeah.
prove it. But
Um.
regardless, it's
Like.
still
All
cool,
right.
though.
So
Regardless, it's a cool little Easter egg.
yeah, it's a really cool Easter egg. Maybe because of the success of Seven,
Yeah, maybe that's why
you
he
know, there was
decided.
always a they well because Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil Revelations, excuse me, was a success for the
Yeah,
3DS. It was a good
it's
selling
yeah,
game. Um. And it's got a good cult following.
absolutely.
I should imagine a lot of people
Yeah,
do
it's not
play
the
it.
highest selling, obviously,
Um,
but it's
so they probably always intended that they're like, oh, well, you did this, so we'll have you back. You know, I don't think it's beyond Capcom
yeah,
to do something as far as a long game, as far as like what's their vision for the future of Resident Evil, because like Charlie said, they have a long vision of what they want to do with these
true.
IPs and how they're going to like map it out. So I wouldn't be
There's
surprised.
some creative motherfuckers over
Um,
there at Capcom.
the Easter egg to Clive O'Brien is a fucking jarring
I
news
thought
to
you
me.
knew
I
about
didn't
it.
know
Yeah,
that. I knew about.
you have to
No, I
check
did
it out
not
next time
know
you play
that.
it. Then,
I missed
or you
that
could
one.
you could
Yeah, I'll
probably
have to check that. I knew about the Alyssa
yeah, you could probably just
Ashcroft
look it up on
one.
YouTube, Clive O'Brien in RE7, and you could probably see a
Hmm.
clip of it.
Well, I gotta get to
Well,
that game. I haven't even cracked it.
yeah,
Shit, I got them right here, side by side, both of his
nice.
games, side by side. There we go. We got. That's what we're talking about right here. Seven or
I got seven.
Revelations and seven.
I
There
don't
they
have a
are.
physical copy of.
Is that the gold edition?
No,
I got the gold edition,
this
baby. Let
is
me see the cover. Let me
this
see
is
the
I
cover for
bought
that
this.
one. Is that the house?
Yeah, it's
I
like
got
the
the.
Baker House,
Yeah,
the face of
mine's got
Evelyn. Yeah,
Evelyn
yeah.
on it.
Mine's not the gold edition because I bought
Yeah,
this when the gold edition didn't exist. I bought this day one, like the first day it came out. So there was no
okay.
gold edition yet and no DLC.
Yeah, you know me. I had an Xbox for a couple years prior to having the
Mm,
PlayStation 3, and then I switched over, and then that's was like, well, I have a disc player now, so because I had the Series S, everything was digital, but I've always wanted physical because I like having my copies of my Resident Evil games, and I've got every one of them that I can have, except for Revelations 2 on disc. The other ones I have are digital because they're readily available on digital, like director's cut. You know, there's not really a physical copy for that. And you know, I'm trying to think of another one I have. It's digital. Anyway, it's irrelevant. But yeah, I have to have my physical
I
copies of my
still don't
Resident
have a
Evil games.
physical copy of 8 and RE4 remake because lately I've been doing just
Oh,
those are the
that's one
only
I don't have. You
ones.
know, I'm not fond of
Well,
eight.
that's not why for me. I love 8. It's just because I'm lazy and
Yeah,
just have been doing nothing but yeah.
haven't
But
bought
every
them.
other RE game I have physical copies of, and I do want to go get a physical copy of 8 and RE4 remake And since I already own them digitally, I'll probably just leave them unopened and just like,
I wish I would have. I wish I would have got Resident Evil 4 Gold Edition when I got that one, but they didn't have it, so I just got the regular version. But I bought the upgrades, so I was just like, well, I could just upgrade it, get the Gold Edition
yeah.
upgrades. But
Well, I think,
let's talk a
yeah,
little
that's
bit
what I was
about
just
raid
about
mode.
to say, man. I swear to
But
God, so many
yeah,
times we're like on the same level without even saying that.
we're on the same level, bro.
Yeah.
Same, and
Raid
we're
mode, all
simpatico.
right. For me personally,
You know a little
oh,
bit more about raid mode because you
yeah,
put many
the
more hours
PS3
into it than I
version,
have. So I'll let you take the
on both
floor.
the PS3 version, I played like 80 to 90 hours of it, and on the PS4 version, same, like 80 to 90 hours. Because on both versions, I got to the max level, which is 50, I believe, which takes so long. Like, it takes a long time to reach the max level. But yeah, raid mode is fucking. I was so addicted to it both times I went all out on it. It's so much fun. Basically, you start out on the first level. They split it up into like levels. So the first level is where you start the game out at with Jill on the boat, and you have to make it to the kitchen area, and that's the end of the level. So you go and you kill enemies, but there's like a level up system. Clearly, I already said that. The enemies have level ups too. So you start out on level 1, you're fighting level 1 enemies. And then when you beat that level, you get 3 different medals for each level. One for, let me see if I can remember. I think there's 1 medal for just beating it. There's 1 medal, I think, for taking no damage. I want to say it's for no damage. I could be wrong about that. And then the 3rd medal, I think, is for getting all kills. I can't remember for sure what the 3 medals are. It's something like that, though. So you got to get all kills, you got to get to the end, and you got to take no damage, or something like that. Maybe it's not take no damage. Maybe it's something else. Sorry, I forget I haven't played raid mode in years now, so I forget. But there are 3 medals, and you want to get all of them for each. Because for the platinum trophy, you have to get all of them. For the achievements, you have to get all medals for all levels, and that shit is rough. Or at least I'm pretty sure. But yeah,
brutal,
but each.
I've only played about an hour's worth of raid mode myself, so
it's I got so addicted to it.
I wish I didn't
like achievement hunting. You weren't really worried about that.
Well, when I played it, when I played it for the first time, I played it 4 times, twice on 3DS, twice on Xbox. So when I played it on the 3DS, I didn't really have an internet connection to connect to play raid mode, so I didn't get to play it. When I did play raid mode was when I got to play it on Xbox, so I only played it for a couple hours because there wasn't really like I didn't have the time to pump hours into playing it because of my job, and I have kids, and so I touched a little bit on it to enjoy it, but I'd looked at a little bit of like what entails with it by watching other people play on like Let's Plays or whatever on YouTube, people that would upload their VODs of them playing raid mode, which is where I got to learn about that Hunk was involved in this. I was very thrilled to see that. Never got to play as him in raid mode in the first game, but I did play as him in the second. And then there was a scene that I didn't get to experience, but I saw it on YouTube where he is teamed up with Rachel Foley, and she says to him, "Oh, it's a pleasure to work with you, Dr. Death." And he says, "If you knew how I got that name, you wouldn't be." And I'm just like, "Oh, that's my boy, dude." So I would have loved to have tried this. I have Revelations there. I'm sure that I don't know. Is there a multiplayer
Yes,
raid mode, or is it you can just do single player?
once you beat. Okay, so let me get back to what I was saying. Yes, there is a
Yeah, sure.
no,
I'm
you're
sorry
fine.
about
I was
cutting you off
looking
there.
it up because I couldn't remember. There's chasm difficulty, which is the normal 20. There's 20 stages on chasm difficulty. That's the normal. Then when you do all 20 of those, you unlock trench difficulty. I think it said, which is it's all 20 levels again, but they're much harder now. But then once you do that, you unlock abyss difficulty, which again, it's all 20 levels again, but it's much, much, much harder. And to get the medals that I was talking about, it's no damage, gives you one of them. Kill all enemies gives you another, and beating it on a lower recommended level gives you another. And then I think it gives you
a lower
so
recommended level.
If the recommended level for the stage you're doing is to be at level 5 or lower, or to be at level 5, you got to do it on level 4 or lower. Because like I said, your player character gets level ups. So like the recommended level for stage 5 might be like level 6. Your character Jill has to be on, or whoever you're using has to be on level 6 or lower. So you need to. So if you're on level 8, you're allowed to lower your character's level back down to make the stage harder and to give you more experience. So if you're on level, if you're on level, if you're on level 8, you but you want the medal, you got to deliberately lower your level back down to 6 or lower to get the medal for that stage. So you can't just like be on level 40 and then go back and do a stage that has a recommended level of 10 and stay at level 40, because then you're not going to get that medal. And there is a medal for getting all 3 medals at once called the Trinity, I think it is. So there's a lot of like these medals that you have to get, which means you have to do no damage, kill all enemies, and do it on the lower level, the lower recommended medal level, all on the same run to get the Trinity medal. So it sounds like there's 4 for each stage. Maybe there's 5 even. I don't know. Whatever. The point is that's hard to do, because a lot of the later stages, the lower recommended level makes it to where the stage becomes so fucking hard. And then after you do all that, you unlock a ghost ship level, which the recommended level for that is 50, which is the max level. So that should tell you how hard it's going to be. The ghost ship level is like a huge endurance round. You basically got to go through like half the entire game. So much of the game you got to go through, and once you get through all of it, it ends with the final boss fight. Except it's in raid mode, so he's even harder than he was in Inferno difficulty. Which is why I say this platinum is one of the hardest, because you have to beat that ghost ship level to win. And on top of that, you can't just retry right at him. If you die, you have to do the whole hour-long ghost ship level all over again, or 30-minute long. I don't know how long it is. It's lengthy. Which that's the only time I had to play with somebody else, because I was like, I can't do this solo. It's fucking hard. So I got lucky and found the first guy I found online that helped me out. He had better shit than I had even, and I had some really like high level guns, and he had better shit than me. He was tearing through these enemies while it took me like 10 seconds to kill one hunter, and in that same time he could kill like 3 or 4 of them. So he was a huge help. And we plowed through the ghost ship level. And then when we got to, what's the guy's name? Not Morgan, but the final boss guy. Jack Norman, yes. He, once we got to him, it was still really hard, but we pulled out the victory, and I got my platinum trophy for Resident Evil Revelations. It's still one of my most cherished platinum trophies to this day, because it was just such a grind and so difficult. But it was so worth it, because I think raid mode is so addicting. I'm a sucker for having like a level up system to get stronger and stuff. You know, I like Final Fantasy games.
That was sort of Revelation's take on the Mercenaries.
Yeah, it was basically. And I love raid mode. I love it even more than some of the Mercenaries modes in other Resident Evil games. Like, it's so much fun. I want them to make a Revelations 3, if for no other reason than just to make another raid mode for another game, because I love raid mode. But
yeah, to learn that Hunk was a part of the raid mode in Revelations 1 and 2 without having Leon in the game, excuse me, was a surprise for me, because usually he's tied to like games that Leon is in,
Claire.
And he's pretty, well, Leon, not so much Claire, like, because he wasn't in Code Veronica.
But they started out.
Okay, I'm lying. There was a mention of Hunk in Code Veronica.
I thought we were talking about Leon.
There was his letter. So no, I'm saying that it was weird to see that they Hunk in there without Leon being involved in the game, because usually he's tied to being in games with Leon or Claire, like you said, because there was a mention of Hunk in Code Veronica, but to see him added, added was really cool.
And Claire and Leon were in RE2 with Hunk. But I got what you're saying now.
So,
speaking of that, the characters really in raid mode are obviously Jill, Chris, Parker, Jessica, Raymond. You even get to play as Morgan. He's a playable character in. Yep.
Really?
Clive O'Brien, I think. Quentin Keith, obviously, Jackass and Grinder. Rachel. You can even play as Rachel in raid mode. There's also Lady Hunk, and I think regular Hunk also.
Yeah, Lady Hunk.
Those are like some of the later playable characters. I can't remember how you unlock them all.
Lady Hunk is such a weird
Yeah.
character because it's basically Hunk
But
with
then
lady
not only
legs.
that, and each character in raid mode gets their own like perks. Like starting Jill has like plus whatever percent damage with handguns and machine guns. But then Chris might have extra damage with shotguns and rifles. You know what I mean? So it's nice to play around
Yeah.
with different characters. One of my favorites to use was actually Raymond. He had a yeah, I can't remember
Really?
why though. I think he had a big boost to machine guns and something else, which is why, and I like using machine guns, so that's why I like using them. But
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice to mix and match different characters. Like whatever you like using the best is probably the character you should go with. But they all have their own different perks and like they all have their different pros and cons. The characters, but then some of the characters have different costumes also. So Jill has 3 different costumes, and each different costume also has different stat buffs and stat debuffs.
Okay.
So like regular Jill might have like plus 20% handgun and machine gun damage, but this costume with Jill might have plus 30% magnum damage instead of handgun or something. You know what I mean? And also I want to say the third and final costume for Jill and Chris are pretty funny. Chris is in like a sailor outfit with like really tight short shorts, and it looks hilarious. And Jill, I think turns into a pirate with like a big pirate hat. Yeah, they get some pretty funny costumes. I think Chris and Jill are the only 2 that get 3 costumes. I could be wrong about that. The rest of them get like 2. I know Keith and Quint get a second costume, or at least Keith does, and Jill, Parker and Jessica get a second one, I believe. But I think only Chris and Jill get 3 costumes. Regardless, all their different costumes that they get also have different stat buffs. So, like for example, I don't remember what the stat buffs are for each character, so I'm just whatever. But like Chris is a normal one, might have like extra damage with shotgun and rifle, but a sailor outfit might be like plus damage for the magnum and the shot and the handgun or something. You know, it's different for each character. So, depending on what weapons you're going to use, you should probably switch characters because you want to play with the character that you're going to be using the weapons for. So, like, if you're using machine gun and a shotgun the most, then you want to play as a character that gives a buff to those guns. But it's really cool, though. It's really cool.
Gives it a replayability
and
factor of real
and
best.
you're going to be doing if you're getting to level 50, you're going to be doing a lot of grinding. So you're going to have a lot of time to play as every single character.
Yeah.
But yeah, is this Lady Hunk's first appearance ever? Is it Revelations? I don't know if she's been in a. Yeah, I think it might be.
It's her only
is it?
appearance ever that I'm aware of. I believe.
I wouldn't
Don't quote me,
I wouldn't
but I
be
believe.
surprised
I don't
if
think she was
appeared in something like.
I don't think she was in Revelations 2.
I'm not sure. I didn't play
in
Raid
the
mode nearly
mode,
as much in Revelations 2.
Yeah. I played more of raid mode.
Oh,
in
really?
Revelations
I played
2
less of it, actually. I only played a few
Yeah.
hours of it in Rev 2, whereas Rev 1, I put like 180 plus hours into it. Because you have to if you want to get the platinum,
So
which I got twice.
we're gonna wrap up this discussion about Revelations. I think we've touched on everything that we can possibly
Pretty much.
touch on with
Limited time.
our amateur
And our
ability.
limited
In our limited time. Let's get a call-in rating on this game. What do you want to give it?
Oh, shit. For Revelations? What would you
Yes.
give it?
Well, I give Revelations an 8.5,
8.5?
a solid 8.5. It was very enjoyable to me. It was a very
Yeah.
special game. It's not as good as some of the other mainline entries, but for what it was at the time, having just a 3DS playing it, it served its fucking purpose, and I was very, very proud to have that game and enjoyed it thoroughly. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I think I would give it. Well, let me say that, like I said earlier, it came out at a time where RE6 bummed me out because it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I like RE6, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And then Operation Raccoon City came out the same year, and that was even worse in my opinion. I liked it, but not as good as RE6. So then Revelations comes out, and it's like a step in the right direction, like I said earlier. So it made me happy, but it's still not perfect. Like, it has flaws. It's not like it's the best game in the world. So I think, probably about an 8. I would say 8 out of 10, maybe 7.5, 8 out of 10. Like a good, solid, good rating. Not super high, but not like super low. I think maybe like 7.5. I'd give Revelations.
7.5, 8.5. Okay,
7.5 to 8, anywhere in that range. And
So 7.5 to 8.5. We're within a point We're within basically a point difference. It averages out
which
to 8.
I think is
so.
It's pretty accurate because I gave an 8 to RE3 remake, so I don't know if I want to say
Yeah, I was gonna say. So if you haven't played this game, which if you're listening to this Resident Evil podcast, you probably have already
probably
played it. But if you haven't played it, it's definitely
worth it.
a
Yeah, if
game
you're a
you
big
should
Resident Evil
play.
fan and have not played this game, I think now is a perfect time to do so because it might take a little bit. It might take like a good 30 minutes to get used to the controls, hour, but because they're not like as good as the modern Resident Evil game controls. Because you got to remember this was back in
Yeah,
2012, but it doesn't take very long to get used to them, and it's a solid entry, and I'm sure you can get it for really cheap.
it's
Like
a
you could
very
probably get
solid
it for like
entry. The
10 bucks or some
atmosphere
shit.
is
Yeah.
fucking
The atmosphere on the
great.
boat is
The
so
atmosphere
good.
is
Yeah.
great.
Highly recommend playing this game
Yeah.
if you're a big RE fan. But a
It's the story's confusing as we've tried
little
to
bit, yeah.
explain, but we're like I said, we're not like it. We even us who like understand a lot about Resident Evil still kind of get confused. Like, what the fuck is going on in
Yeah.
this fucking game?
It's a good one
But
though. It's
yeah,
a good yeah,
it's a good one
and
though.
like I
Yeah,
said, it for the time it came out, it was a much needed like change of pace because
breath of
yeah,
fresh
like a
air for
slight.
Resident
I
Evil.
think
Yes, it
RE7 is
was.
the one that brought the series back fully to like hell yeah. But
Yeah.
Revelations was like a small step towards that. Like same with
Yes.
Revelations too.
Well, without Revelations, we don't get Resident
Maybe
Evil
not.
7.
Maybe
So
not. Who knows?
I don't think
But
so.
regardless, it was a good game.
I don't think so because I think that like I think that the understanding of like the disappointment with the fan base with Resident Evil 6 was the effort that they put into Resident Evil
Well, they came
Revelations
out. They
to
came
try
out
to
in the same
bring it
year, so I
back.
don't know. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think what you just said definitely
I don't think the development time for Resident Evil Revelations would have taken as
probably not.
long
Yeah, probably
as
not.
Resident Evil 6 because of it
Yeah,
being a handheld game. So I'm pretty sure that
they already
like
they already had feedback from six.
the feedback from the fan base was
You might be
had a lot
right.
to do with this. I believe.
You
I
might
don't
be
know
right.
about that, but I
Yeah.
just might be.
That well, the feedback definitely
Anyway,
applied to RE7 because that was many years after. So yeah, and
absolutely
and even
110,000%.
Revelations too because that came out a few years later also. So
Yeah,
that came out.
which we'll be getting into that very
Yeah,
soon. We don't know if this is the next episode is going to be Revelations, or we may have the other Chris Redfield on. I'm in talks with him right
that's
now to get him
exciting.
on the show, and it looks like it's pretty
Yeah, what
good.
other Resident
So
Evil games have we not done?
the next
We
episode
haven't.
probably will be will be with Joe White.
We haven't done Revelations 2,
We haven't done Revelations
0.
2. We haven't done Operation Raccoon City. We
Oh, we're
haven't
gonna
done
do
0.
Operation Raccoon City.
So I'd love to
Oh
talk about
God,
it.
I
Absolutely,
haven't
it's got
played it in
hunk in
so
it.
long though, so I don't know much about it anymore. I'll have to do
That's
some
all right.
homework, I guess.
We'll crawl through it. You'll just have to
But
do some
yeah,
homework.
I don't remember any. I'll have
Um,
to replay it then because I haven't played it
yeah.
since 2012. So
Well, I would like to just take this opportunity to tell everybody thank you for listening
absolutely,
to us two
thank you
babbling
so much.
buffoons try to ramble on about Resident
Thank
Evil
you.
Revelations. We really appreciate you guys that listen. Please leave a comment in the comment section on
Please.
YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify, leave a review, leave a comment. Let us know that you're listening, and let us
Mhm.
know what you think. If there's anything that you would like to hear us talk about, we're open to input from
Yeah,
the
that's another
listeners.
thing.
We do this show
Yeah,
for you
absolutely.
guys.
That's another thing we might.
Well, we do it for ourselves because we love to
Well,
talk
of
about Resident
course.
Evil, but moreover than that, we like to talk. We like to entertain you guys with good discussions about this
Yeah.
game we love. So, yeah, give us a check out on our YouTube channels. Kenjira 1980 on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're not listening on Spotify and you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, you can find our audio versions of the podcast on Spotify at the Biohazard Bros. Try to help boost that. Colin is on YouTube at
Yep.
Colin255, and he is on Twitch at ColinBFG255, where he streams a variety of games, not just
Yep.
Resident Evil.
Streaming all
And
kinds of stuff.
yeah, anything you want to say to the guys to the listeners before we go?
Yeah, I was gonna say that we've been doing all these Resident Evil stuff, but we do have plans to dive into some other game series in the future, like eventually.
Yes. Yeah, we're
So
going to be
don't. It's
diving into
not
some like
only gonna
other
be
shit
Resident
like
Evil forever,
yeah.
but Resident Evil's the best.
Yes.
So
I mean, we got a lot of Resident Evil news that we're going to have to be getting into in the coming months because this is there's a huge anticipation to the build up for Resident Evil 9,
yeah,
and we're a lot of the community is going to be talking about that ad nauseum, and we're going to have our 2 cents to put in
course.
on that. We have Resident Evil 2 and 3 Nemesis
The
coming
PlayStation Plus
to
Premium. Yeah.
PlayStation Plus, so we
excited for
have
that.
a lot to talk about with that. Colin will be streaming that.
Absolutely.
I'll probably be streaming that. I'm Kenjira80 on Twitch, and so that's the show. We really want to thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we will see you again next time here at the Biohazard Bros Podcast.
Biohazard Bros Podcast.